Yeah, I offered to teach my class for free at a university. That was back when I actually had another income. And the response was, why would anybody want to learn the Constitution? Which is pretty much, evidence of why we have the problems we have right now.
Well, and people are paying attention to it. And again, going back to those town hall meetings, I'm hearing people say to the Democrats who are championing their social causes, they're social Democrats, otherwise known as National Socialism. We won't go there. But, and they're going in and they're saying, look, where is this in the Constitution? And I think that is a mighty question, and it's a great question. Of course, Thomas Jefferson talked about, national banks and central banks and all of these warnings, Michael, and for all of these years we just didn't listen to it, and look where we ended up. I mean, do you think it's time now people can listen to people like you? Is it time now for people to understand the origins of this country and what we overthrew to get the freedom that everybody enjoyed for all of these centuries or decades, and understand why we're at where we're at? And when people mention the Constitution, especially the Democrats, it's it's confounding because they have never read the Constitution. They don't know it. They have taken an oath, allegedly, to protect and defend that Constitution, but they don't know what's in it. And if you ask them, where is health care reform or perestroika in the Constitution, they get confused because they probably think it's in there, but they just haven't read it, so they don't know.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons I started the class in the first place is that people would come up to me and say, well, Social Security is in the Constitution. The Department of Education is in the Constitution. I go, really? Show me. They'd page back and forth through my copy of the Constitution, and I go, gosh, I was sure that it was in there. And there's a judge, his name was Learned Hand, and my favorite quote from him is that most people think that anything they like is constitutional, and anything they don't like is unconstitutional, and it doesn't work that way.
Well, people see it like the Bible or something. They can just interpret it any way they want. And as we talked about it earlier, it just says what it says. I got to ask you this, Michael. I had Mary Ruwart on yesterday, and she was brilliant. And I asked her the same question I'm going to ask you. You were the Libertarian Party nominee for president in 2004. We voted for you. We supported you in that effort. I'm sorry to say against Aaron Russo, who I didn't know so much at the time. If I knew what I knew now, I might have had to support Aaron too, or with, or against.
Yeah, also, yeah.
But I did know you, and I knew you were an honest man, and that's why we supported you with our radio stations out back east, and I thought you made a pretty good and a pretty valiant run. We saw the snowball rolling down the hill, especially with the Ron Paul campaign in 2008. It looked like the Libertarian Party was primed at the pump, man. They were ready to go, and that the third party was at the most viable point it's ever been at, and then something happened. Do you want to comment on what's happened to the Libertarian Party? Are you still a member, and is it a viable challenger anymore, or has it been completely divided and conquered?
Well, I've been a Libertarian since I was riding a tricycle, and I will always be a Libertarian. I don't know if the Libertarian Party still accepts me. There are a lot of people are Libertarians. I've got a lot of Libertarian friends in all 50 states. The Libertarian Party has distanced themselves from me. I think it was because I was too libertarian for them. But
that's big A libertarian. They always go small L, big L. I say I'm a big A libertarian, which means I'm an anarcho-libertarian, and maybe you are a little bit too. But go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
The problem is that everybody's so frustrated. They want everything now, and they would rather not have to really work for it. And when Ron Paul announced to run in January of 2007, I was one of the first, famous people to endorse him in February of 2007, and I was almost immediately labeled a Republican. They said that I had abandoned the Libertarian Party because I was now supporting Ron Paul. Well, at the time, who else would you want? So there are people who, within the Libertarian Party, who are more concerned about label than liberty. They don't want to actually have any success. They just want to make sure that a libertarian wins somewhere. And in the 2008 convention, what they did was they voted for somebody who was famous that they thought would be able to pull a lot of publicity. Yeah. And the naive thought that if we just put somebody famous on TV, they'll mention the word libertarian, everybody in the United States will instantly understand, and all of our problems will be solved. Well, that just doesn't happen. And so I think that libertarians were trying to take the easy way out in 2008. Mary Ruwart was running as a presidential candidate. She is just a doll. I love Mary Ruwart.
Yeah.
She is
and Steve Cuddy, who would have been her vice presidential nominee.
Who would?
I thought it was Steve Cuddy was going to be the vice presidential nominee, so it would have been Ruwart and Cuddy, and that was after Ron Paul had already disintegrated and wasn't able to run. I mean, that would have been the thing to do.
Yeah, Mary Ruwart swings such a great philosophical bat. She can, if I wasn't already a libertarian, I mean, she would be able to convince me to switch. And she would be such a fantastic spokesperson for the Libertarian Party. And there were several other really good libertarian candidates that would have been able to represent the party, but they decided to go with popularity and celebrity, and they selected Bob Barr instead.
Well, you know what they say, Michael, once CIA, always CIA, but again, I'm not going there. We see now, I mean, here you're still with us in Texas, and we see people, like Deborah Medina, who I'm backing for governor, running as Republicans. I mean, they want to be in the debates. They want to challenge these people, the Kay Bailout Hutchinsons and the Rick Hairdo Perrys, on their own ground, which I think is a pretty damn good idea. But I mean, that should be a libertarian thing. The libertarians should be doing that, and it just seems to me that they're completely lost. Is there anything left of the party at this point? Is there anything left at all?
There are bits and pieces. The Libertarian Party of Texas is still very strong, and in fact, I'm been invited to be attending a meeting on Sunday after the class. But again, they kind of disintegrated a little bit during the national convention in 2008, but they're going to come back.
Well, I'm glad that somebody on this show is an optimist for the libertarians. I have libertarian ideas, but, I don't know what I am. Michael will come back. We'll wrap all of this up right after this. Stay with us, folks. Deadline Live.